Hey gang, Roland here. As you can see in this game, I'm playing the Tier 6 Imperial Japanese Navy destroyer Fubuki. Matchmaking is pretty ugly. Not only is there a CV in the game, but there are two Akazukis, Harakaze, and an Icarus on the red team. All of those ships significantly outgun the Fubuki, and while the torpedoes of the Fubuki can be very effective, they're not very fast, and they get spotted uh, way out there. So I consider myself to be at something of a disadvantage in this game at the very beginning. Now that's not always true, but in this case it certainly is. Uh, Not much in the way of cruiser threat. It's primarily going to be this CV and all these DDs. Now there is a submarine, and that has a significant spotting advantage. So as the game starts, I want to play very conservatively because the last thing I want to do is go rushing up to the alpha cap and then have aircraft fly over the top of me, which would force me to smoke and either sit in the smoke to avoid being spotted by the aircraft or leave the smoke and be spotted by the aircraft, but maybe be able to avoid torpedoes. So not really a good set of choices. So I want to sit back. I want to see where the aircraft will be, and then I'll have some idea from there which way I want to go. I'm kind of glad to see that the battleships with me, at least on this side of the map with me, are pushing forward. When you're playing in these lower tier matches, which, I'm bottom tier here, so there are some tier 8 ships, but anytime you're playing these lower tier ships, lower tier matches, and in fact, I think these days we were all pretty much aware that even at tier 10 matches, sometimes people are either very inexperienced at the game or just really not very good at the game and will not do any of what I was just talking about as far as threat assessment at the beginning, and just push right in. And I'm looking at the Fuso and I'm thinking, yep, okay, there's a perfect example of exactly what I'm talking about. Now, the flip side of the coin is, on our team, of course, we have a CV as well. We've got a Massachusetts, which is a great ship, two kids, which are fantastic for shooting down aircraft. And you can see that there are aircraft in the air moving on the Massachusetts, actually. You can see it on the minimap. So two kids and an Akazuki on our team division, as I do get detected. That's another thing about this ship. The detection radius on this ship, this is just ahead of the update 10.11, which gave about a 100-meter buff to the detection radius on the Fubuki. So the detection radius right now on the ship, 6.1 kilometers, which means, Harakaze in particular just outspots me all day long. Now I moved out of the smoke because very often DD players will torpedo your smoke and move forward to try and avoid these shells. It's no big deal that I left the cap. I'd much rather them get the cap than sink my ship. Now there are aircraft coming in. I have to hope that he's going to drop the Fuso because I was forced out of my smoke. I'm going to be detected, but I don't think anybody can shoot me here. Now, I don't want to run around the corner because the Harakaze might be out there. And the Harakaze, while the shells, that's about what I expected from Fuso. And just in a few seconds, both teams are down two ships. We lose Fuso, which we saw, and one of the kids. The red team loses Leander and Akazuki. Now I'm in a bad spot right here. I'm going to stop this for just a second and kind of talk about that. You can see that I am detected by a submarine because I've just been pinged, and this says detected. This says I'm located, which means one of these ships, probably the Harakaze, has a really high skill point captain and is running the radiated location skill. So on his, I'm guessing it's the Hatakaze. No way to prove that right now, but I'm pretty sure. So on his reticule, and he's probably somewhere down here, just above the aiming reticule, there's a little semicircular line that's showing him the general direction of the nearest enemy ship, which is me. So if he's right here where you can see these two little shadowy indicators, then he's got a little pie-shaped wedge that's probably something like this. That's telling him that we're here, and also we've got aircraft overhead, which have got me spotted. So why did I stop it? Why am I going into so much detail? Because in a game like this, in a situation like this, where I've just lost the only teammate I had, you can see Andrew Yadori is already running away. Probably smart to do so. I know that there are 2 destroyers and a battleship at the very least, plus aircraft, plus the sub that has me spotted. They're all somewhere in here. And I need to get some distance. Now it's going to be difficult because the U-69, if he surfaces, he outspots me by a considerable amount and can run almost as fast as Fubuki. So I'll get going. You'll see Fubuki is not a fast ship. I'm just, yeah, that's probably the Hatakaze right there, putting shells on me. Nope, it's a Fuso, even better. And there are some shells from the DDs. And now I'm spotted. Aircraft are gone. Yeah, there's the Hatakaze. And I'm really just running for my life. You'll see that I'm moving the tail of my ship, trying to make it a little bit more difficult. Maybe that was Icarus that put shells up on me from over here. The ping is almost gone. And I'm going to throw some torpedoes out just to slow them down a little. And I'm detected again. Now that's, in this case, Icarus. These are from the submarine as he pings me again. And you can see them starting to turn. But they get to a certain range and then they just move straight. So I'm able to avoid those torpedoes. Now this is in-game. I don't mind telling you, this was quite an adrenaline rush. I'm just trying to survive. Now if the submarine comes to the surface and just runs straight north, he can do this. He can detect me again. Because as I mentioned, Fubuki is not a fast ship. I mean, you can see what my speed is, and I'm only going to have a little bit longer. So I'm running north to try to get away from the sub. My hope is, you can see the Andrew Yadori here, that the sub is eventually going to tire of chasing me and head this direction. Probably the same with the Hatakaze. And we know that the Icarus was here. He's probably going to move here to spot torpedoes for his Fuso, but eventually, hopefully, we'll continue to cross here. So I'm going to turn around. It would have been easy to just keep going this way, become a part of this line. But instead, I'm going to turn around and I'm going to try and get behind the red ships. You can see Icarus is actually heading back that way. I imagine he's probably going to run to the north side of that island with all the smoke pouring out of it. So my goal is, at this point, unless the Icarus turns back around or the submarine comes back out this way, my goal is to get as close as I can to that cap and harass those battleships. Now I may not land torpedoes because you may have noticed they're pretty slow, and like I mentioned, they're detected from quite some ways out. But even if I can't land torpedoes on these battleships, if I can harass them and get them out of the cap, that means maybe I push them into Sinop, Andrea Doria, Massachusetts, and I can move into the cap and begin helping our team gain points that way. Now you can see we've got a U-69, Akazuki, and Kid. They're swarming the CV at the bottom of the map, about to secure the Delta cap. Hatakaze has fallen back, and he's trying to do something about that. But he's going to be in big trouble because his CV is in survival mode, as our Leander's secondaries, of all things, finish off at Gneisenau. CV's in survival mode, so he's not going to be worried about helping the Hatakaza. He's going to be worried about helping himself. And both the Kid and Akazuki have decent AA. And it's a bottom tier CV, so it's really questionable how much he's going to be able to do. Against me alone out here, CV was devastatingly effective. Against a couple of higher tier destroyers with decent AA, now the aircraft are just going to get shot down. Akazuki finishes off their CV. Kid finishes off the Hatakaza, and this game is looking like it's pretty much over. Now, why did I show you this game replay? As you can see, the Torpedo's heading toward Fuzo. He's going to be aware that they're there right about now, and he'll turn to avoid those. Why did I show you this game? Well, I said something, I promised, I don't know, sometime in the last week or so. It's hard to gauge when these are going to come out from where I'm sitting right now, but I told you that I was going to try and show you some of these lower tier just Japanese destroyers, kind of how they played. And, you know, I could cherry pick and just show the games where I just was an absolute star. But I really wanted to give you a sense of kind of how these things play most of the time. For me, too. I mean, you can see that we are 10 minutes into the game. I got 12,000 damage. And I'm going to stop this for just a second. I've detected 4 ships. I've only put 3 shells on target, which these guns are pretty pathetic. Shot down 6 aircraft, which for a Japanese destroyer at tier 6, it's kind of amazing to me that I managed to survive. I did land 1 torpedo and picked up a flood, but over 500,000 potential damage in a Fubuki. I feel really good about still being in the game. Now, as I mentioned a minute ago, my goal was to try to push these guys out with the threat of torpedoes, and I think that's what's happening. It's not just that that's the only thing that made them leave. They also have to face this threat over here, and they're going to want to help their guys pick up the Bravo cap. But in addition to that, they know there were torpedoes coming from here, and now they know, because the cap's starting to turn, that there is a destroyer that's close. So they're not going to want to stick around. So my torpedoes at this point, if I land some, great. If I don't, that's fine, because what I'm helping to do with these torpedoes is help corral these guys into a potential crossfire. It looks to me like our Massachusetts is coming this way, dealing with the Bismarck, which is going to leave our Massachusetts somewhere in this area, as these guys are more or less here. And that's going to cause them probably to either turn to face the Massachusetts or turn south to face this torpedo threat. Either way, it's going to leave room for me to be able to sit here and secure this cap. I know Icarus was here, Red Sub was here, so this zone right here, at least for right now, is clear. So I can confidently secure this cap. And I'm not worried about how much damage I've done or what my score is going to be in the end of the game. As I mentioned early on, bottom tier, Fubuki is not what I would call a good destroyer. It's not that it's awful, but it is kind of a means to an end. Fubuki's not all that great a ship. It gets outspotted by quite a few things. It's outgunned by pretty much everything. Its strength lies in what I'm doing right now. Trying to stay out of sight, cap if I can, harass things with torpedoes, occasionally light fires if the opportunity presents itself. Okay, so the Bismarck is sunk by our Massachusetts, and he is going to, I'm guessing, stay north of that island. He's got his own torpedo threat. He knows there's a destroyer there because we can see it. Dunkirk and Fuzo have turned south. They knew that the Kid was there and the submarine. They could see it on their minimap while their CV was dealing with that. It's going to be tough for me to get torpedoes on the Fuzo, but I do have a chance to put a torpedo or 2 into the Dunkirk, and it'll only take 1. You can see that he is burning, but he's got his repair going. Icarus is making a run for our CV. There's really not a whole lot I can do about that. Fuzo finishes off our U-69. Now I do not want to get spotted here, so I'm going to get as close to this island as I can. Did manage to secure the Alpha Cap, and I think I might catch the Dunkirk. Our Leander in Massachusetts are focused on taking care of that U-69. Fuzo and Dunkirk are pretty focused on our kid down there. And yeah, that's going to finish off the Dunkirk. Now I might be able to sit here and try to get a fire on the Fuzo. So I'm backed up. Let's see the torpedo coming. I've backed up just so that I can't be shot from up north, and to make it a little harder for torpedoes to catch me from north. I do manage to get a fire, and it doesn't matter if he puts it out. You know, you're just contributing however you can. If he puts that fire out, and then Kid lights him up, gets a fire, and then he burns for a long time. If Kid lands a torpedo, even if he doesn't sink it, he'll flood for a long time. So just doing what I can, and it looks to me like Kid is going to make a YOLO rush right toward the Fuzo, and he's got 4 torpedoes, and at that range, he could easily finish off the Fuzo. And there they are, and down goes Fuzo as he lands all the torpedoes. Nicely done, Kid. And that's the game. You know, we lose our CV to the Icarus, but we're about to have all 4 caps. They've still got a submarine and an Icarus, but the submarine's probably not going to be around for too much longer. And I'm going to go back here and see what I can do about Icarus. Now, I could have, yes, just kept on going and headed up toward Leander, etc., and gotten in the front, in the face of the Icarus. But instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come this way in case he runs this way. Yes, we have aircraft over him. Yes, he's pretty much continuously spotted, but he may have come this way. And if he did, I wanted to be able to kind of head him off at the pass. Now, as I come this way, it looks to me like he's going to try to get torpedoes in Massachusetts. It's a last-ditch thing. He knows the game is over. Look at the points, 839 to 323. But maybe he's going to try and get torpedoes on the Massachusetts and then smoke up. That's probably what I would do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out here right now, and I'm going to throw torpedoes out ahead of his trajectory. But I'm not going to use my guns. In fact, I'm going to hold my guns until I think that if he reacts to my guns by turning or slowing or smoking, that my torpedoes might still hit. You can see I'm just keeping my distance. Got all the torpedoes out there. And I'm going to wait till the very last second. He's going to detect me here any second, but I'm going to wait and wait and wait. Because what's going to happen is, when I fire, I'll pause this and explain kind of my thought process. So look where I'm at right now. If this is a normal human being, because I certainly would think this way, he's going to look at my ship here and he's going to say, okay, this is the line. He's probably just thrown his torpedoes out just ahead of firing his guns, which means the torpedoes would be on a line like this, and that they would be just on the way. He doesn't realize that the torpedoes are half or closer or more than half of the way to him already. So he's thinking he has this amount of time, when really he only has this amount of time. And that's why I waited and held my fire rather than firing right away, because if he decided to react and turn when I was still back here, my torpedoes wouldn't really have had any chance. I hope that makes sense. You can see I'm aiming for the rear of the ship. And boom.
Enemy destroyer sunk.
Now I'm going to angle up in case he managed to throw torpedoes this way. Probably not, because I really do think he wanted to get torpedoes on our Massachusetts. But thanks very much for joining me. See you next time.